Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Ashley, and in this video, I wanted to sit down and talk about the fear that many of us have of losing ourselves to becoming a mom, to not knowing who we are anymore when we become a mom. I have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and I have one on the way. So I definitely had these feelings when I was pregnant. I thought when I gave birth to my baby that I would just be a completely different person, and that I wouldn't feel like myself at all. But I want to assure you that that is not the case. You still are yourself. You've just added on an attribute of being a mom, and it's a wonderful thing. It does take up a lot of your life, obviously, especially in the beginning when your babies are little. But I thought I would share with you 4 tips on how to not lose yourself in the midst of becoming a mom, and one thing not to do to save yourself some stress and to not lose yourself to becoming a new mom. So the thing that I did that I would advise you to try not to do is to try not to pour every single ounce of yourself out for your baby. Essentially, what I did was I spent all of my time, absolutely every minute, basically, trying to do all of the right things for my baby. And while that is a good thing to a degree, we obviously want to take care of our babies to the best of our abilities. I went over the top with it. I forgot that I was also important and didn't really take care of myself at all in the process, which really hindered my ability to be the best mom that I could be for my baby because I wasn't in the best place that I could be. So the first thing that I would advise, and that is to not do, is to not think that you need to spend all of your time taking care of your baby. Obviously, in the beginning, it will be a lot of your time and most of your day. But when I get to the tips, you'll see that I think it is important to prioritize ourselves. And even if that's just 15 minutes here and there, it really can make a big difference on your mental health. And I think it's very important. So that leads us to our 4 tips on how not to lose yourself as a new mom. The first one is to prepare now, to prioritize the things in your life that you do not want to lose once you become a new mom. It should be super easy, but it's important to think through the things that make you who you are now, such as things that like you love to do, working out, reading, cooking, going for walks, whatever you can come up with that makes you you. I actually created a workbook to try to work through these things and other ways to prepare for postpartum. That will be linked below if you want a more guided way to do this, but it's very simple. It's just to think of the core parts of who you are and just to remember that those things are important to add back in after you have your baby as soon as you feel comfortable doing so. I didn't think about myself at all, like I said, when I became a new mom. And I think if I had kept these things, like had decided before I became a mom to prioritize these things, to make sure I added them back in and that I was important too, I think that would have helped a lot. The next tip is to try to find a mom community. This is super important and something that I'm only just now pushing myself out to do, but it's super important because it pushes you outside of yourself and your little bubble. And becoming a new mom can be really challenging and lonely, especially if you're home with your baby for a long time alone, and having something to push you outside of that bubble and to show you that you really aren't alone, that there are other moms out there who are going through the same struggles and the same day-to-day things, really, really helps too. So I feel like this is actually the hardest of all of the tips because it really does require a lot of effort. And honestly, when I became a mom, I wasn't even really sure where to start. So I came up with a few ideas of ways that you can meet other moms. First is to join some sort of group at a library. Our library has even a new moms group where it's for babies, I'm pretty sure as young as like 0 to 2, where it's just like a little group where you just get together with other moms mostly, and they do read stories and crafts and stuff. Obviously, if your baby is very little, it can be more for you to socialize, but even it might take you a bit of time to want to get out of the house anyway. So once your baby is a couple months old, it could be nice to just get out and have something to do and just talk to other moms. The second place you can find a group to make mom friends is at church. If you have any local churches around you, or if you already go to a church, a lot of them have groups that you can join that you can meet new moms. It's a really good place to do it. That's specifically where I am trying to get plugged in. It's not necessarily a mom's group, but there are other moms there, and I'm trying to form relationships with them. And the third one is not necessarily something that I have done, but I have seen a lot online, is an exercise group at a gym. A lot of the time I have seen they have ones geared to new moms so that you can bring your babies with you, and then you will obviously come across other moms who are in the same life stage as you, and that can be really helpful to connect with people who are going through the same things we are. So my third tip is to make sure that you prioritize your relationship with your partner. This is super important because it's important obviously for your relationship, but it's also important for your baby because your relationship with your spouse or partner is the foundation of where your baby came from. This is also important because it helps you to remember who you were before you had your baby. Fourth tip is to have other people take care of your baby as often as you feel comfortable. That may be once a week, it may be every day for a small amount of time. You have to decide for yourself what is good for you, but it can be really healthy to take that time then to leave the room, at least maybe even leave the house, go for a walk, just to reprioritize yourself, to ask yourself an honest question of, what do I need right now? Maybe it's just like a meal, a good meal, or a cup of coffee, a nap, a walk. Just because when we're around our babies all of the time, it can be really hard not to just focus on them 100% of the time, and we forget about ourselves. So if you can have your spouse or your mom or a loved one take care of your baby for, like I said, as often as you are able or feel comfortable doing so, just to ask yourself what you need and to check in with yourself and to just make sure that you're taking care of yourself too. Like I said in the beginning, this was a big struggle of mine. I would say I sort of lost myself when I became a new mom, and I think that can honestly be normal to an extent. It is a lot that we are learning, and we love our babies so much that we want to give our full selves to them, and it can honestly just be a really good place to relearn who you are and what you like. And I've had a really good time of figuring out who I am and learning to reprioritize myself in this season of being a young mom. So I wouldn't be afraid of losing ourselves, because giving ourselves away to our babies is a really worthy cause and it's very fulfilling. We can always stop and learn who we are again and learn to reprioritize ourselves. I challenge you to make sure you do prioritize yourself as often as you're able and not let yourself go for too long, because I think that that was part of the reason why I struggled with postpartum depression, and I wouldn't want you to go through that as well. But I would love to hear from you. If you are pregnant or a new mom, I would love to hear what your fears are specifically around becoming a new mom, and if you think any of these tips would help you. This channel is really just about supporting new moms and trying to relieve some of the pressure that we put on ourselves and that culture puts on us to get everything right. If that sounds something that would be interesting to you, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.